Hello and welcome back to my kitchen. I'm Anisa and today I'm making Csirke paprikás or chicken paprikás. This is a beautiful, very vibrant Hungarian recipe. I've made it a few times before and it's always really delicious and just comforting. And I'm going to make it with a side of Nokedli, which is like a sort of dumplings which I fry off in butter and I finish it with a bit of lemon. It is very delicious and very easy to make. So let's just get started. I have approximately 600 grams of chicken thighs. This recipe also works really well with a full medium-sized chicken, but I just felt like doing some boneless chicken thighs today. So to start with, I'm going to salt my chicken thighs, and we're going to give it quite a liberal amount of salt, and we're just going to rub it into those thighs. So make sure you salt both sides and just rub that salt into the meat. This works really well with chicken with skin as well. Now what we're going to do is brown off our chicken in a pan on a medium-high heat. I've just let it preheat and get nice and hot, and I've added a good knob of butter. We're just going to start browning off our meat. I added a tiny bit of oil in there as well, just to help prevent that butter burning. And we're basically just going to fry our meat a few minutes either side until they're beautiful and golden brown. Don't overcrowd your pan at this point. Just do a few at a time and fry in batches. I have just finished browning off my meat. We're not looking to cook the chicken through, it's just to get a little bit of colour on there, and I've removed it to a plate. I've added one whole finely chopped onion to the same pan that I've cooked my chicken in. I added a little pinch of salt as well, so it can really help those onions sweat and start to pick up those brown bits from the bottom of our pan. When your onions have softened a little, we're going to add approximately 6 sliced cloves of garlic, and we're just going to toast that off for approximately 1 minute. When your garlic starts to smell really nice and fragrant, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of plain flour, and we're just going to stir that through and give it 1 more minute, just to give a chance for that flour to really cook off. My flour has toasted off for approximately 1 minute, and now I've turned the heat off on my pan. This is very important. Turn your heat off, and we're going to add our paprika. So I have 2 tablespoons each of sweet paprika, smoky paprika, and a hot paprika. And we're just going to stir that through the pan. Now that paprika is going to toast with the residual heat of the pan, but we absolutely do not want to burn that paprika. This will make your dish taste very bitter instead of very tasty. After stirring your paprika through, we're going to add a little bit of chicken or vegetable stock. I have in a jug approximately 250 millilitres of stock, and I'm just adding a little splash. And we're just stirring that stock through. I'm using approximately half of my stock now. And I've just turned my heat up onto a very low heat, and you can see this stock has really thickened with that flour and that paprika. So you should at this point have a very thick gravy. I'm going to add 2 whole peppers, which I've sliced into thin strips, and I'm also adding 3/4 tin of tomatoes. You can also use fresh tomatoes. I would recommend approximately 5 to 6 fresh tomatoes, and just chop those through and stir it through your delicious sauce. I've just brought my dish up to a simmer. Make sure you stir it very frequently. We don't want that sauce to catch and burn on the bottom of your pan. Now I've just let it simmer for a couple minutes, and now I'm just going to make sure I season it with some freshly cracked black pepper and some salt. I'm now going to add the rest of my stock, and I'm going to add my chicken back to the pan, and we're going to basically let our chicken simmer in this beautiful stock until it's fully cooked through. Now if you're using a whole chicken or chicken on the bone, this could take approximately 30 to 40 minutes. Because I'm using just simple boneless chicken thighs, I reckon this should take around 15 to 20 minutes. And any of that remaining stock that is in your plate, add this to your sauce as well, just for that extra flavour. I'm just going to sort of shuffle our chicken into that beautiful sauce. Make sure your heat is on a nice low heat to prevent this burning. And I'm just going to add a lid and let that simmer. So every few minutes, just give your chicken a little nudge on the bottom of your pan, just to make sure that sauce isn't starting to stick. And occasionally I just sort of baste the top of my chicken in that paprika sauce. And I tell you, there is the most beautiful smell in my kitchen right now. It's slightly smoky and just really, really delicious and rich. After approximately 20 minutes, my sauce is starting to look more like a gravy. It's delicious. Give it a taste for seasonings. Make sure the salt and the pepper is right for you. And I always make sure I use Hungarian paprika if I'm making chicken paprikás. I feel like it's some of the best quality that you can get, and it just gives me the most savoury, tastiest dish I can get. If you need to cook your chicken further and your sauce starts to get a little bit too dry, you can always add a little bit of extra stock or water. But at this point, I'm pretty happy with how this looks. I know my gravy will continue to thicken as it cools down, and I'm just going to turn this off and leave it covered until I'm ready to eat. We're now going to make our lemon and garlic Spaetzles or Nokedli, which is going to go with our chicken paprikás. So in a bowl, I have 150 grams of plain flour. We're going to add a little bit of salt for seasonings and half a teaspoon of baking powder. This is just going to help your Nokedli fluff up. Whisk that together. Now I'm just making a little well in the center of my bowl, and I'm going to whisk in 2 eggs. So I'm just working in 2 large eggs. Just give that a little whisk. So at this point, you're going to have quite a thick batter, and this is ready to be cooked. Now to a pan of boiling water, we're going to boil our Nokedli or our Spaetzles. I like to use a grater to help make my Spaetzle shape. Now we're going to boil our Spaetzles. So to a pan of boiling water, I'm just passing my batter through a grater, and it's going to help create these sort of random sized pieces, which is going to form our dough. You can of course also use a perforated spoon, but this is what I have on hand. So as you can see, I'm just sort of passing it through my grater like so, and just smushing it through with my spatula. Now I give it the occasional stir to make sure these don't clump together. And when they're floating to the top, which should take a minute or 2, you know they'll be ready. So I'm just going to remove these Nokedli to a separate bowl, and we're just going to cook these in little batches. And I just try to sift off as much of that water as possible. Now we're going to fry off our Nokedli. I've just added a good knob of butter to a pan, and I'm just letting it bubble through. And to that butter, I'm adding 3 cloves of crushed garlic. We're just going to give that a few moments to become nice and fragrant and just cook off that rawness. And we're just squeezing a little lemon juice into that pan. I'm using approximately 1/4 of a lemon. I'm also adding just a little sprinkle of fresh parsley. And finally, our Nokedli is going to get added to our pan. It's going to stick together a little bit. That butter will help to separate that Nokedli out. Of course, don't be like me and use a pan that's about 2 times too small for this, but you're just going to stir that Nokedli through. And finally, we're going to add some freshly cracked black pepper. I've added plenty of black pepper. If you don't really like it, you can skip that out or just add less. Give this one final stir, and this is ready. And now it's time to plate up our beautiful dish. So I'm going to start by spooning some of that gravy onto our plate. And it smells amazing, absolutely wonderful. Just such a beautiful comfort food. And we're going to get a piece of our chicken. I like to make sure I get plenty of those red peppers on there too. And we're also going to spoon some of our garlic butter, lemony goodness Nokedli onto this plate. You can really smell that garlic and that parsley coming through, and it smells absolutely delicious. And what I love about this dish is just how deliciously easy it is to make. I'm just adding a little splodge of sour cream, just for that little bit of lightness for my dish. A little extra sprinkle of that fresh parsley. And finally, just a little extra lemon wedge. And one more little crack of fresh black pepper. And that's really all there is to this absolutely delicious warming dish. This is absolutely comfort food to the max and so deliciously simple to make. If you enjoyed the video, please do leave a like, comment and subscribe, and any suggestions for the future would be really appreciated. Thank you for watching.